I started as an apprenticeship at what was the Cleveland Foundry here, and I was being paid 2 shillings and a penny per hour as an apprentice. So I decided I needed a bit more money than that, so I learned how to use an oxy set, and down the road where the cutting goes through from Morris Street to West End, that used to be Skinner Brothers Scrap Metal Yard. Because I lived in Stir Street, I only had to walk down to there, and I used to do all their oxy cutting, but Skinner would only pay me 2 shillings an hour. And when I used to ask him, well, why not give me the same? He said, oh no, if I gave you more than that and give it the same as the apprenticeship board, I'd be in trouble with them. And he was a Scrooge McDuck, if ever there was one. But so I was able to buy myself a 31-year-old, or a 31 model Whippet utility. Of course I had to borrow a little bit of money as well. It cost me £25 in those days. And my 2 mates and I, we used to often go, we always went out together in the Whippet, and we got to the stage, we loved going to the old Olympia picture show. It was an open air show, no roof on it, and on the nights when it was raining, that never stopped us, because if it started raining while we were in there, everybody would run up the back. So we'd just grab the canvas seats in front of us and pull them over us and sit back in the rain and watch. So that's how we got on. But then we decided we were a little bit girl shy, but we needed to have something to do with girls instead of just Curly and Jeff and I running around by ourselves all the time. So they had a jive class at the railway canteen opposite the Mansfield Hotel. So we enlisted for that, and the night we went was over the Mansfield and get a little bit of intestinal fortitude to be able to go over there. But then we found we didn't need it. It was after the first night you found you didn't need anything like that. And it was wonderful the way the girls treated you and jiving, and we thought, oh, this is it. When we got on a few weeks, the girls, as they moved up, there was 3 classes, the girls moved in the next class, all of a sudden they were a little bit snobbish. They're more interested in themselves than anybody else. So we always stayed, me and my 2 mates, we stayed down in the first class all the time, because the girls coming in there, they were fantastic. They were always nice to you, no trouble at all. So that's what we did. But then there was this one night, these 3 lovely girls came in, and apparently they'd come from out of town. They'd come from Ayr, and their father or one had driven them down. Anyhow, we were dancing with them, we were jiving with them nearly all night. And when it closed, just as it was closing, word got to them that the father's car had broken down, and it'd probably be a couple of hours after it closed before he'd get there. Well, the old railway canteen, all the lights went off as soon as the 9 o'clock came. So I suggested to the girls, would you like to go for a ride in the old Whippet? Yeah, why not? So on the old Whippet ute, they had a wooden back on, but there were seats either side, like the old utes had. You don't see it today with safety belts and all that sort of stuff. Anyhow, well, Jeff sat with one on one side, Curly the other, and there was one sat in the front with me. Of course, the old Whippet, it had no roof on and no windscreen, but it was registered. And away we went up Castle Hill, and it was the first time I'd tried to take it up there. And that day, the old muffler had got bad, and we threw it away, and I'd found one down the creek where they'd just pulled a boat engine apart, and I put that on it. So it seemed to be all right. We got halfway up the hill, and the engine started boiling, and it was boiling. And you look behind, and that muffler, I don't know what it had in it, but it was like a skyrocket coming out the back. And anyway, we got to the top. There's absolutely no water there at all. So we come down, most of the time was without the engine, not to try and get it to cool down, and down into the Queen's Park, or the Botanical Gardens we called them in those days, and we found a tap. Then we woke up, we got nothing to put any water in with. So we put our hands like this and carried it for some, and a mouthful, and over and putting it in. And the 3 girls, they did the same. They went and got their mouthful in the hands, and when we got filled up, And we drove back, that was then we drove back to the old canteen and waited.
Where was the canteen?
Opposite the Mansfield.
Oh, right, okay.
And then we drove back there, and all of a sudden we thought, well, I don't know how long this bloke's going to be, but within 10 minutes they were there. So we said, well, that's good. And so Curly and I, we went over to, and Jeff and I, that was the end of that. So we went over to the Boomerang. Well, the old Boomerang was over in Palmer Street. That's everybody that was anybody went over there for a hamburger at night. And of course, coming off the Victoria Bridge, there was rails there at those days, and you'd get what you wanted, and then you'd go out and sit on the rails. And of course, there's a few more stories involved in that, what drunks tried to do to you, they wanted to fight you. But anyhow, next day I went to work, and I was thinking of what a wonderful time I'd had the night before. And I get home from work, and Mum said, oh, I heard that you took a couple of girls up Castle Hill last night. I said, yeah, how did you find out? I said, well, it turns out that the girls didn't know, and nor did you, but two of them were your cousins. and then the mother of one of them rang Mum up and to thank her for the way we looked after the girls. And that was my story. Thank you.